And welcome back to Reality with RealityHub.
Hey, that's my line. We must be in a different year. It must be 2021.
Yeah, we're kicking off 2021 with a whole new attitude, a whole new feel. And with me introducing the show for a change. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I thought your dulcet tones would do it justice.
Yeah, well, you do it so well.
Well,
that's why we've kept you, on as the show intro. Yeah,
that's why I'm here. I see. Yeah. Well, what do you think of the new studio?
Well, it feels like home.
Doesn't it?
Beautiful, yeah.
It's the salt lamp, isn't it?
There are so many lights in there. I wish you guys could see it, but yeah, there are lights everywhere. Beautiful salt lamps and lava lamps, and it's just lit beautifully. And it is an evening. This is an evening recording, which is nice.
Yeah, for the first time, we've started a recording at 9:55 p.m.
Yeah, a summer evening in beautiful New Zealand.
Yeah, and what a night it is for it. Because as we wrap up and say goodbye to 2020 and say hello to 2021, what could we call the year of 2020? How would you sum it up?
Wow.
I thought it was the year of staying at home.
The word unprecedented was used so much that it's almost, yeah. I mean, how do you even sum up a year like that? As I've said before on the show, that everyone's situation through 2020 would have been different, your circumstances. But as a collective, yeah, the whole world went through something. And I think we're still in it. We're still in that, whatever we're in, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well,
the year
that's
of
right.
the pandemic, the plandemic, however you want to term it.
The scamdemic.
Yeah.
The year of the face diaper. Face nappy.
The year of terms like lockdown and ISO, #ISO, and
MIQ,
social distancing, and censorship, and big tech. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Scanning in to stop the virus.
Yep.
It's been a big year.
And the V word. Can we say the V word?
Virus? What was it?
What's on the agenda for 2021? Everyone needs to be...
Ooh, sorry, I just wasn't on my mind.
Yeah.
It starts with V and rhymes with Maxine.
You got it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, there's so much. What I think is we've had a bit of a break, and I think it's quite good because it's like the old snow globe where you shake it up. Like last year was such a big shake up.
Yeah.
That you allow things just to settle. And I had to really, really pull back from that whole just researching everything and trying to educate myself with everything and all. I call it like downloading so much information to try and make sense of it all, because I was on this quest. I don't know about you guys out there. I was on this quest to try and decipher and search through and get to the truth of things. Like who's right, who's wrong? Is this all is everything adding up? What's the reality of the situation? And if you were just on some isolated island and didn't have touch, didn't watch the news, you weren't connected to the internet, you wouldn't know what was going on. But because we are so connected, we get so much information.
It would be very blissful to be on that island and not know what was going on.
Exactly.
And in fact, in some ways, we are on that island in New Zealand because if you were to compare our reality to the city of London,
right,
or somewhere in the United States, except for maybe Texas, we have a certain amount of freedom,
Yeah. And wasn't it if you cast your mind back to, I don't know, I guess it was the end of March or sort of start of April when we went into our first LD lockdown.
Yeah.
And when, and wasn't it, there was this talk of like, oh, it's only going to be like a couple of weeks and it'll, here we are a year and a bit later, and it's still affecting the world. It's still affecting all, so many people's lives and situations and the whole reality of how we used to live.
Well, that's why you referred to 2020 as the year of the new paradigm.
Well, a new paradigm, yeah. I mean, you really think about how you were living prior to that, your day-to-day reality, and then something comes along to completely offset that and change that. And it's not just, because we talk about your own personal universe or your personal situation, and you've got the collective situation.
Yeah.
So this is a worldwide thing. You got to remember that it was affecting everyone.
Yeah.
So, and everything, and everything's connected anyway. So whether it's wanting to travel overseas or or just wanting to get something shipped off buy something off the internet, and all the global shipping networks were all thrown out, and just so many, everything has a knock-on effect.
How was 2020 for you and coping with it?
Well, it's weird because I came away kind of unscathed, but almost like, how can I put it into? It's almost like I was prepared for it in the way I was living.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of trust, without getting too woo-woo, I kind of trust in that higher kind of greater aspect of the unfoldment of things, and I try not to buy into the human drama of it all, because that's when you start to lose it, when you get into the drama vortex of it all, and you just got to take a few steps back and go, hang on a minute, if I can just, that whole saying of, energy flows where attention goes. So whatever you place your attention on that's the reality that you're going to construct. And I know you want to talk about the whole Joe Dispenza.
But I'm just wondering what you're saying is because if you trust in the plan.
Wow. See, that's the other thing. Well, that's the same thing. We talk about, do you trust in the plan?
Obviously, I'm talking about people who were Q supporters,
yeah.
QAnon, who's great. Who for whom, when you find out about the kinds of things that they say, one of their taglines is "Trust the plan."
Right.
If I saw a Q shirt, and it had Q in the middle, and it had some writing around the outside, and one of the things that it said was "Trust the plan," and then and I. It was really interesting to see the things that took place, the storming of the Capitol building, the Capitol, and all that sort of stuff. And in my opinion, the Q stuff is really fascinating and interesting. I'm not going to bag those people, because from what I can tell from the people who believe the sorts of information that's drip fed out of the QAnon world. Is that those people genuinely just wanted to see change. They got caught up in something that was a massive, it was, I hate to say it, if you're a Q supporter, don't take this the wrong way. I've got nothing but respect for you personally, because I know that a lot of people who are Q supporters are really well-meaning, but I think they were duped a little. And I think that they found themselves in a psyop. So a really clever operation, in my opinion. I know this sounds out there, but we talk about those out there things. In a psyop that prevented them taking action, because the motto was "Don't take action." That's what trust the plan means.
Yeah. Everything's happening behind the scenes. Don't worry.
You don't have to be active in local government. You don't have to get yourself elected to a position where you can make a difference. You see, that's bullshit, right? Because if you're to take responsibility in the life around you and you want to make a difference, you've got to start in your own home, and you've got to extend to your neighborhood, maybe in your town or suburb or city, and then see where it goes, and like, I'm not really a fan of, I don't like the idea of politicians that much. I'm always a little bit unsure about them. But if you're a genuine grassroots person, that may be a route, politics, where you can make a difference in the world. And trusting that someone is going to look after you, trusting that others will make decisions for you.
Sure.
Oh, it's just giving your power away.
Yeah.
And it actually, the opposite of that came up for me with GameStop recently, because ordinary people got together. If you heard about the GameStop thing, where large investment hedge funds were betting against GameStop on the stock market in the US, and they were doing a bet that it would drop in its value, and a bunch of Reddit users got together and spread the word, and they said, don't let the hedge fund win, buy the stock in GameStop. And they kept holding it high, which bled the hedge fund quite terribly, bled them dry a little, and to the point that it stopped trading, which is unusual and strange, and people are complaining that is market manipulation by stopping the trades. It shouldn't have happened in a free capital market. And you know, the power that people can have when they take action to say screw you to the big guy it's real. But so seldom do we ever take action. And the whole Q thing was saying don't take action. And imagine the power people could have if they actually did take action, and in the right ways, right? Because I mentioned the pathways of politics and all that sort of thing, but in the right ways. Yeah. So for me, 2021 is going to be the year that reveals and discloses the truth about a lot of things.
Because it's all about the Saturn-Uranus alignment.
You've been doing your astrology again.
Yeah, you know, it's all... No. I mean, I throw that in there a little bit jokingly, but...
You've been listening to Joseph P. Anthony, the astrologer.
I'm a big fan of the planets, as you know. And I guess the real science and astrological and the energies and stuff. But yeah, it's man, you bring up the whole Q thing and I never really delved deep, and I'd obviously heard stuff about it, you know, and I kind of loosely knew what it was about. But yeah, it's kind of, I think what I got from it was the sense of hope, maybe, that there was just something good happening in the background to combat the powerful elites that are maybe controlling, you know, the financial world and our reality and these other hidden forces that are at play that are, as you say, are slowly beginning to be disclosed and brought into the light.
Well, let me just that end, let me just say that the Q thing, for it to be believable, for it to be as successful as it was as a psychological operation to keep people from doing anything, it's got to have enough truth in it that you go, oh, this is real.
Sure.
And it had enough truth in it. For people who had looked over the last 10, 15 years at the world and alternative information, went, you know, there is child slavery. There is sex trafficking.
Child trafficking. Yeah. So there are elites.
There is dark stuff. There appears to be elites doing some weird shit.
Yeah, that are...
so it talked to that end and they went,
that's what I'm saying.
This is real.
It seemed to be a positive force that you could align to and go, hey, maybe this is powerful. Maybe they're onto something.
Finally someone's exposing the things I've been talking about for years.
Exactly, yeah. See, this is the stuff that I've been telling my friends about, and now see these guys. But the thing is, you know, Q anonymous, I take it, anon. Yeah. Well, I mean, who are they? Who are they really? And we've never really...
And when you think about it, right, like, you know who David Icke is. He has a face and he has a platform and he talks to you.
Yeah, he's a real person.
You know who Alex Jones is. And for all of the vilification both of those guys get, you go, well, you have had the balls to stand up and go, this is my belief. Who's Q? I mean, he's just this fictitious character.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you're putting your faith into some anonymous source. We don't know the source.
He wants his cake and eat it too. He wants to be able to tell you stuff but not have to be responsible.
And as you say, you know, the David Icke's, you know, you can go and buy tickets and see them in person and actually
go to Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, there's a human figure with a story who's you know
relatable
and relatable and all that. So you can go and they put their money where their mouth is because they go and do exactly what they say they're going to do, and that takes courage. So I don't know, man. That's a real interesting thing. But, you know, just swinging back to the recent events and all the things that should have played out, particularly I'm talking about, you know, the US election, which I never really got into, but I found myself gravitating towards that for some strange reason.
You can't not look.
Well, more kind of like the...
What's going to happen is you're looking at it going, oh, here
what's
we go.
What's going on? Yeah.
Well, that was the election, right? The election itself, where by 10 o'clock at night in the US, the whole thing was done, hosed and over. Trump had won most of the states. It was done and dusted.
It's true.
And then at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, a whole bunch of ballots came in and they were all for the other guy. Well, that's interesting. But hey, nothing to see here move along, right? But the case for that is very clear. that suddenly a whole bunch of ballots for the other guy comes in at 4 in the morning.
Something was definitely off.
Like those are the facts. I mean, whether you wanted or didn't want him to win, that's what happened. And history will bear that out, because that's what the polls reported as when those new ballots came in. That in itself is just simply fascinating, whether they were legit or not legit. So, so you go to bed at night, the guy's won. In the morning, suddenly a whole bunch of new ones come in. He's lost. That in itself is interesting. Then you see the complaints about it, which went unreported, and lengthy explanations about how those things occurred. A laundry list of technical explanations about that no one wanted to listen to. And because they just wanted him out. And then once he's out, hey, good news, we've got a vaccine on the way, right? That in itself, timing on that's really interesting. And then of course you've got the whole, what happened on the 6th of January and the people protesting and all that sort of stuff. And people talking about how, and the tragedy of that lady dying. That was a tragedy.
Sure. Yeah.
She has, however, been described as a little bit out there.
But yeah,
it's still a tragedy. She had a daughter. If that's just shit. Some kid somewhere is now without their mum because of that event.
But how much of this can we truly believe? I mean, because I, like anyone, we'll jump online and you get your information from the major news agencies and sources, and what I've discovered is it's just so manipulated. It's so obvious to me.
So many different places are reading from the same script.
Yeah, it's almost too obvious in my point of view, that if you can take a little step back and just, if you flick between, I remember Joe Rogan saying this, I think it was the last election, not even this one, saying he was flicking between the major networks, whether it was MSNBC, CNN, and he was going, Fox. And they were, they're all live, so they're all obviously trying to report the same thing, but the disparity was just like, what's going on? Like, who's telling the truth? This network's saying so and so's way ahead, and this one, it's like, how are they doing that? Like, they just manipulate, they're just making it up.
What you mean.
Yeah, and I remember watching also the Capitol riot, and the same thing happened. I was flicking in between. They were live, right? But the pictures were so different. Like, hang on, that's happening there live, but the same, like from a different angle, but the same location, something completely different is happening. Well, what's going on? So in
clearly not live.
So you're going,
at least a 15-minute delay or something.
I mean, unless I'm actually there and witnessing this, then how do I know what to believe? And that's what's sort of one of the huge realizations that, I'm sorry, folks, just do not believe what you are seeing coming through the mainstream. I mean, look, that's just the way I viewed it, because it just seems very obvious to me. And
If 2020 was the year,
and it sucks because you want to be able to tune in and get accurate reporting and telling it as it is, but not being manipulated, perhaps because there's an agenda at play behind the scenes, and this is what they want you to see and believe.
And what you're describing is
propaganda,
is the discovery and the realization that, you've been kept in the dark and fed bullshit. You've been treated like a mushroom, and you're pissed off about it, and I am too. And a lot of people are. If 2020 was the year of staying home and do what you were told, 2021 is the year of something to do with the theme of freedom. And getting to that point of freedom is something about an uncovery, a discovery of truth. This is not the reality. I thought that this just isn't real. This is bullshit. And finding your freedom in yourself and being able to let go of the controls that bind you, I think. 2021 is discovering all is not as it seems.
It never has, Things are not as they seem. Go a little bit deeper beyond the surface reality of things. And you can't change things unless you shine something into the darkness. So I think the darkness is slowly sort of, light's being shown on those things that are just, not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to that end, let me say, for the Q believers, all is not as it seemed. There have not been mass arrests. Will there still be by the end of February? I'm not so sure. We'll see. But all is not as it seemed for them. And for other people, they'd go, well, of course not. But there's more than that, right?
Yeah.
There's so much more. There's in the financial market and our reality, I believe it's starting to break down and get exposed, and light is starting to peek through the web. And it's like, with the GameStop thing on the stock market, all is not as it seems. Things are not fair.
Yeah.
Trading is not fair.
Yeah.
It can be manipulated.
And when you talk about mass arrests, just explain what how you feel
what that
that's
meant?
all about. Yeah, what that meant.
No, it was if you were.
Are these the people in power that were corrupt?
Q told its followers that Trump, don't worry, trust the plan, everything's going fine. Right up to the end, Trump's going to pull a Trump card, and he's going. There will be military controlling, and Biden will be arrested.
Right.
The massive wrongdoing of the stolen election will be revealed.
Draining the swamp.
Sure, but it was draining the swamp on steroids, because it's the Satanists will be brought out into the light.
Yeah.
The traffickers will be arrested. The deep underground military bases will be exploded, and the children will be set free. That was.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, it's all is not as it seems, and either that's happening covertly or it's actually not happening.
Because it always seems to be happening covertly.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all happening behind the scenes, don't worry.
Because unlike David Icke and others, there isn't actually a real person to go, well, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but David Icke talks about that stuff as well, the stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
The controlling forces of the world.
Well, this stuff's got to come out into the light now this year.
That people go, that can't be true. Like, that's just so crazy because... Yeah, but is it?
Look, it's time for the aliens who are sitting in the wings. It's their turn.
I know.
And they're nervous.
They've got to
come out.
Well, they've got to top the whole, C-19 thing that's just been unleashed.
That's right. Thank you. That reminds me of another thing. The PCR test. So all is not as it seems.
I think I failed that at high school.
You did?
Yes.
You didn't get all the P's the season.
No, that's right. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, the PCR test is the COVID-19 test that's done
the gold standard
around the world. Numerous countries have the PCR test, which it turns out. There's been a story come out from Dr. McCullough saying that PCR tests cannot, in fact, distinguish between live viruses and active non-infectious viral particles.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means the test itself, although it is used to determine if you have or haven't got COVID-19, in fact, cannot be used as a diagnostic tool, but it is.
But it is.
And the reason that's a problem is because the false appearances you get a lot of false positives, essentially. And this is all, if you want to find the reference for this, it's at Dr. McCullough's website. It's Astonishing COVID-19 Testing Fraud Revealed. And in a nutshell, it says the false appearance of a lethal pandemic has been manufactured using cycle thresholds that are too high. So what that means is a cycle threshold is the number of times they amplify, which is an amplification cycle, to determine and detect RNA particles, which tell you whether or not you have got the virus. And the greater the chance of a false positive comes up, the more times they have to do an amplification cycle. And research shows that to get 100% confirmed real positive, so an actual real sense of confirmed that it works, the PCR test must be run at 17 cycles of amplification. In New Zealand and around the world, we run it at 40 to 45 cycles of amplification. That's so high, you get unbelievable false positives where they shouldn't be. So it was actually developed by a guy who said it should never be used as a diagnostic tool, and it is used as a diagnostic tool. And there's been a bunch of scientists who've done a paper challenging the scientific paper on testing, and the one that's been adopted around the world. And they've said that the so-called Corman-Drosten paper, which shows how to amplify and do the test, should be retracted due to its numerous errors. So, okay, I mean, here we are in the middle of a pandemic where tests are done on people to say if they do or don't have a virus, where the percentage of false positives are incredibly high. And we believe that this thing's real, but they're doing a test that's going to say that people have it when they don't. It's really kind of confusing, and people are going, hang on. So the rest of the article, I'm going to leave it there, but it says the accuracy drops to 3% on the PCR test, resulting in 97% false positive rate. 97% false positive. That's not to say that the 3% that are correct aren't people who need some real quick medical care, that they need to really look after this. It's not to say that the virus isn't going to be something that could affect them or potentially end their life, but that means that the numbers that are reported of deaths are 97% out if they've used the PCR test.
I was just going to say, it seems in simple layman's terms, it seems that's very convenient for pumping the numbers up astronomically.
Yeah. I mean, if 100,000 people have died from it, actually only 3,000 have.
Yeah.
That's what that's telling you.
Yeah. So it's just, oh man, we were talking before we went on about just so much information out there that this word discernment, how do you discern? How do you filter through and get to there are so many experts, there's so many people that have these, educated, research and article, it's just like far out, man. No wonder people out there get really confused about what's really going on. And maybe that's the plan. You're not supposed to know what's going on.
Yeah, interesting.
So it just keeps you.
Well, that's why we're here to tell people about it. And so, if you're interested in this particular topic about the PCR test, go to Macola.com
sure.
and do a search for COVID-19 testing fraud. It's really interesting. There's another little thing I noticed here. The inventor was the late Carrie Millis. And and he's actually spoken about the test for other infections, including HIV and things, but he died in August of 2019. Just a few months before the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, interestingly. Right. He personally didn't like Fauci, as the story goes. There was bad blood between them. He said the guy was a bit of an idiot. So it's interesting that he's dead and can't say to the world, you shouldn't be using my PCR test for diagnosis purposes, because that's what he openly said at the time and in his papers that he wrote about it, which he won a Nobel Prize for. He won a prize for the test because it was really interesting what it did, but he said it should never be used as a reliable tool for diagnosing whether someone's ill. So there we go. That's interesting.
That's crazy.
So I think we're going to see 2021 as the year of revealing a lot of information. Things are going to come into the light.
Well, the January was supposed to be volatile and uncertain and a whole bunch of things happening on astrologically speaking from what I was
what you
gathering.
were hearing.
Yeah.
Well, it was in a lot of ways.
And yeah, sure it was.
Were you saying it wasn't?
Yeah, I know. No, I mean, once again, it depends on your personal circumstance, and it depends where you apply that. But if you think about, talking about the solar system and the reality we live in, then we're all affected by that. We all have the same sun and the same moon and the same planets. So on that planetary level, on that energetic level, then I mean we're all susceptible to it. But how that plays out in this arena of the political arena or whatever arena, that's the real interesting part, whether it has a huge effect. You know what I'm saying? I'm bringing it out there to sort of get some sort of scope and why we're in these sort of, because we're talking about, there's this talk about this age of Aquarius and the times that there's an era that's new eras beginning in mankind. Well, it's sort of just getting a different perspective on what's happening on this reality. Because it's just, these are crazy times. I know. It just, that's for sure.
Actually, something that brought me a lot of peace during the last couple of weeks, which for me was quite an interesting time. I've come back from another acting job. I had a couple of weeks. I had 5 weeks in total on that particular job, but they were 3 weeks before December, and then 2 weeks in January. And it was a rough Christmas for me. I got a shitty back and had some pain, and I was trying to spend that time limbering up, getting ready, because I had an acting job coming in and preparing for it. And I was like, I'm not in good physical shape, but it all kind of all worked out in the end, and I felt better by the time I got into it. But I was sent a video. You would have heard of Joe Dispenza, right? Or Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm talking to you.
Yes.
I know you have.
Yeah, yeah.
And to those listening, this guy is absolutely worth listening to. He talks about quantum field. He's written a number of books. One of them's called Becoming Supernatural, I think, or The Supernatural Human.
Sure, yeah.
Look it up if you don't mind. Have you got Wi-Fi on?
I do, yeah.
Oh, yeah, good. That's working. And I have to say, if you can check out a video on YouTube called "This Is Why You Can't Find Love," with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and the first 20 minutes of it is about that topic, but the rest of it, right up to 2 hours, is not so much about love at all. And it really got me. I was like, oh, this is great, because he was talking about the quantum field, what you resonate, and how your feelings become a magnetic attraction of things to you. Well, your thoughts are signals, but your feelings are what you resonate. So what you can put out can have an effect on you, and then the feeling that you have brings more to you. And a lot of the times, people who are resonating in the right place, they're doing nothing. They're holding the line, and it's all coming to them in their life. They're manifesting.
Yep.
That for me is totally RealityHub. So check that out. Again, that video is called "This Is Why You Can't Find Love" with Joe Dispenza and Lewis Howes.
Yeah, big fan of Joe Dispenza. I've seen so many interviews and very familiar with his work. What I love about him is that he has a good way of explaining things that seem a little bit woo-woo into practical terms. You know? And they're not woo-woo when you understand what he's talking about.
Oh, he says he describes it in such a grounded way.
Yeah. So big fan of him. I'm just reading his little bio here, man. He's a lecturer, researcher, corporate consultant, best-selling author, educator, but he's driven by this, that each person has the potential for greatness and unlimited abilities. I really like that. Yeah. But once again, it comes down to who you resonate with. If they speak to you, then that's the person you want to sort of, follow and get information from and do that sort of stuff. So, but the good, what should we call them? The people that are out there that have the real good intentions, that are there to tap into your own, don't look at them as gurus or put them up there on a pedestal or you can respect them, but the people that, that I follow now or learn from are the ones that help you to empower yourself and to unlock those abilities, because you have that within you, rather than telling you, well, this is the only way you've got to do it, But yeah, I'm just checking out his website here. Yeah, he's
the guy's obviously been around for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, he's got these like catchphrases: be supernatural, be empowered, be inspired, be whole. I mean, it's all just real positive stuff. So he's definitely on a mission and to help transform people and get them living and being their best lives, which, sounds a little bit, when I was just saying it there, it sounds like, wow, that's amazing, because we all know what life is really like.
Yeah, that's right.
It's hard, to always be inspired and amazing and happy, because there's that whole duality of life that we talk about all the time.
Yeah. Hey, and I'm going backwards a bit here because we were talking about Maxine before, but backward. There was something else I forgot to mention about that, and the company Merck. the big pharmaceutical giant. Yeah. There's an announcement on their own website. So you can go to Merck.com and you can search for this.
Yes.
So if I say this, by the way, I point out Dr. McCullough and the reference articles there and the PCR test not working. And I point out Merck.com, the pharmaceutical giant itself. For those of you who think, nah, that's crap. That can't be true. Steven's talking shit.
Yeah.
No, this is on their website. You can go find it. And Merck made an announcement to discontinue the development of the SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19 vaccine candidates. They've cancelled it. Now, you can read all about that on their website and what they've done. But it's interesting. Someone did some reporting on that and interpreted the meaning of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So one interpretation of that has been the following. That the vaccine manufacturer Merck has abandoned development of 2 coronavirus vaccines, saying that after extensive research, it was concluded that the shots offered less protection than just contracting the virus itself and developing antibodies. I mean,
that's a bold statement, isn't it?
Bold statement.
Coming from
a
company that would benefit greatly
if they
from rolling out.
Yeah. I mean, like Pfizer's going to.
Yeah, and all the other ones, all their competition.
And all those guys,
yeah, so
BioNTech.
that's just...
Apparently, the company announced that the shots V590 and V591 were well tolerated by test patients. However, they generated an inferior immune system response in comparison with natural infection. The company stated that instead it will focus on research into therapeutic drugs. Okay, great. Well, that's what they do. They're a drug firm. And their drugs are going to aim to protect patients from the damage of an overactive immune response to the virus, which is important, because an overactive response could kill people. And that's what, that little perfect storm was described earlier when people, the immune system responds too much and then destroys themselves. And that's when it can be a really bad outcome for a patient. Now, all of what I've just said there is really reasonable stuff, right? These is just the facts. This is what that particular company has decided to do. Some people will argue, well, other companies have had a successful result with their, okay, fine. But these guys are huge. If they can't have a successful result, isn't that interesting and telling?
It's very interesting.
That they've abandoned it because they've essentially said, look, it's better to just get the virus and develop your own antibodies because look, most people survive it.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah.
And then, of course, that would lead you down the path of talking about all the people who took the experimental one as part of the studies and had terrible health outcomes.
Yes.
I think that's going to come out in the media too in time, and we'll see the truth about how they were affected and how people who were part of the studies didn't fare so well.
And I have noticed that actually in some of our main news sources here that they are actually reporting the negative effects of taking.
You know, they have to report it.
Yeah, like they're being open, they're going, well, actually, it's not just...
You're going to just think it's farting rainbows and butterflies. Everything is just perfect.
Yeah.
And it just can't be. You can't do a study and not have some negative outcomes.
Yeah. Well, this is true. And, it's not like it's the it's the, what they call it, the panacea. That once this rolls out and a percentage of the population have
you don't need to be healthy.
Immunized.
You can have a vaccine.
That's going to solve everything, which I don't think is the nature of like anything, basically, because this virus will mutate, will change, evolve, whatever, as it does, and it's. I mean, it just depends. Once again, it just depends on what you believe and what you put your energy into, and you're completely entitled to believe what you want to believe.
Well, if that's true, and if that's the country we live in, and if democracy is a real thing in New Zealand, if it's all real, if that's all true, and you're allowed to believe what you want to believe, and you have freedom of religious and philosophical beliefs, freedom of medical beliefs, then when these vaccines come out, they should be widely made available as a public health activity, but they shouldn't be forced on anyone.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like everything else that you can find out there should be your
option.
Yeah, it should be your right to choose what you want to do.
Absolutely.
and not forced upon you.
You know, because after all, if you're worried about the virus, then you can take the vaccine.
Sure.
If you believe that that's going to immunize you. And you don't have to worry about whether someone else has taken it or not after that.
Exactly.
It's all right. You've got it. You're happy.
You're happy, yeah.
You've grown an extra arm, but you're fine. No, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, your dick falls off. I mean, no, obviously, it's your choice.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I just had a thought about this whole big tech censorship thing.
Yeah.
It's been going down as well.
Oh, do tell.
I mean,
about the censorship
that's been going on for a while now. People getting deplatformed.
Yeah. That's why you must save us on your podcast app, because but we haven't been deplatformed yet.
But that's kind of, you know, the big that's coming back down to the whole control, like how much control these big tech companies have on these platforms, right? Yeah. And so what you can and what you can't say. So, you know, what do you call that? That sounds like that sounds like
what's the word you were looking for?
Well, I mean, that sounds like some certain regimes that are in operation around the world.
Maybe you call it communist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that right?
Well, you asked me if communism is a good thing.
No, I'm just saying, like, we feel, I mean, particularly in this country, that we feel like we can have freedom of speech and that we can use these social media platforms and basically have the ability to say what we want to say, whether we're right or wrong, and whether you disagree or not agree.
Well, plenty of people, even in New Zealand, have lost their platforms.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, because they're not a government-provided soapbox. Really, freedom of speech exists only in old, archaic laws for which the freedom to stand up on the street on a box and speak your mind was accorded to you. But now, in this electronic age, if that's all you've got, then you are effectively silenced.
Yeah. I've heard this from a couple of sources, one being Veritas, about some act that was passed in America where the news networks could lie.
Oh, yeah.
What was that
I heard
called?
about that too.
Yeah, so this is crazy, man. So I think it was initiated like during wartime they could do that. So they could
That's
propaganda
right.
your
propaganda
population.
law.
Yeah. But they can actually do it to their own people, the networks, and they can get away with it. It's perfectly legal. So you can lie. You can lie to the news networks can lie.
Yeah. It's something act.
Yes.
It's a law,
a real
an
thing.
act,
It's a real thing.
And it allows them to carry on lying again. It was only last in during wartime. So the point being, you're allowed to lie for the greater good of the people.
Yeah.
Right.
So that swings back around to the big media companies that they've probably been doing that for a long time, and they can get away with it.
Okay. Yeah, well, my concern is probably more so with the IT companies who can remove your platform, say goodbye to your Facebook, or whatever the thing is you're popular on, right? And cut you off with your ability to. Well, I mean, this is why Elon Musk said use Signal. And Telegram became big. I don't know if you heard of Signal and Telegram, but they had massive downloads over a week period, which is extended out to this month. And Signal has the ability for you to connect to others and message them without being in any way traced with what you're saying. And it's this is the word I'm looking for, where it can't be interacted with. It's encrypted. Thank you. That was the word. Yeah, encrypted. So it's got encrypted messaging, but also you can contact people without being interfered with.
Right.
It begins with inter. I'm not having a good time with my words tonight. And the other one was Telegram, and you can broadcast to a bunch of followers followers on it, up to 200,000 or something, and not be removed off that platform because Parler was removed. And,
Exactly.
And this is the power they have. And after that happened, these other platforms just went downloading like crazy. And WhatsApp lost a lot of people because Facebook said, well, because Facebook owns WhatsApp, and WhatsApp's its great feature was that everything was end-to-end encrypted, and that we couldn't, Facebook said we can't see or interact with your messages directly. We can't intercept them. That was the word I was looking for, intercept them. But then they put out an updated to the terms and services saying, well, we can use your information to learn things. And people went, really? Okay, we're out. And that happened at around about the same time that Parler went south and the app disappeared and Amazon dropped it off their servers, which is all at around the time that Trump, around the 6th of January, when Trump was trying to talk to people but was cut off on every platform, and no one would even live stream the president's final goodbye. And you think, wow, the president of the US couldn't get airtime on the television networks or get live streamed.
Yeah.
When is that amazing? What world do we live in?
When has that ever happened in the history of the US?
Fascinating. And so these other platforms have gone huge. I mean, with Parler likely to have been a right-wing source of support. More than likely. It just would have been. They were right-wing supporters. With that out, people have gone, well, screw it. This is, again, for me, 2021 is the year of us sort of coming to our senses and seeing, what? Things are not as I thought they would be. You mean you can just be deplatformed? You mean you can just stop this, and this without, I have no control? So they, we'll see, the rise of Signal and the rise of Telegram in place of things like messaging, WhatsApp, and maybe Twitter or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I think there's just been this huge polarity that's been playing out for so long that you've got to find the middle ground at some point. Polarity is not unity. So, and, we come back to the US, there's been such division.
Polarity is opposites, right?
Opposite, like a wave extreme. It's like positive and negative. It's like left and right. That's two ends. So you're either extreme one way, like you're extreme left, or extreme right. And the problem is that you choose a side and you can't see the other side anymore. You're so caught up in defending and whether you're left or right. And that's the problem as human beings, and we're all guilty of it. We just go, well, you're wrong and you're this and blah, blah, blah. You choose a side and the other side's doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it sounds like
just
a Zoom
playoff
meeting at work.
Yeah. It's so obvious. It's literally just use an analogy of two teams on a playing field. They're in opposition, and you've got one half of the stadium cheering one team if it's balanced, depending on the location. But and it's like, which is great on the sporting arena, but you see it in other arenas as well. But the problem is you start believing one side is better than the other, and you just can't see the opposition anymore. And it's literally like blue versus red.
Yeah.
And it literally is that.
With the slight side order of green.
Yeah, and with the right propaganda and the right manipulation, you can just fall for one side or the other. I'm just going to hate Trump because every media company is going to brandish him as that, right?
Right.
Or you go, Biden or whatever is amazing, is the savior, and
amazing when he can stand up.
And you can just switch it around. You can just switch it around. It's that easy, but you're being played, and that's what I see as well. It's just this extreme polarity.
Yeah, well, you take that view, right? You step back from it and you can just see it's all kind of left and right bullshit.
That whole, if you don't buy into either side, if you don't, which is hard for us to do because we want to pick a side. We want, that whole thing about us versus them, that whole thing of, well, you're bad and, and no, but you're bad. And it's like far out. It's very obvious, but we fall for it. We get played by it so much. And I think that got played out so much in the US.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That to the point where it just, for me, it just became really obvious. And I hope, people can see that you lose sight of the other side and the good and the bad and the other side. Because, no one is inherently amazing and good. There's all aspects. So, that's, I think, all I needed to say on that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Hey, let's look at these 6 parables you brought to the table.
Yeah.
Well, there's 6 of them. How about you read one and I read one?
Yeah, we can just take turns on those.
Yeah, go on. Hit us with the first one.
Okay, the first one. Yeah, so these
really nice way to finish our 40th episode.
Yeah, I really like parables. I like little short stories or little sayings that have a lot of meaning. So the first one, yes.
These are about faith, trust, hope, confidence, love, and attitude.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this is a good one. Once old villagers decided to pray for rain. On the day of prayer, all the people gathered, but only one boy came with an umbrella. That is faith.
Yeah, that's a good one. When you throw babies into the air, they laugh because they know you will catch them. That is trust. Yeah.
At night we go to bed without any assurance of being alive the next morning, but still we set the alarm to wake up. That is hope.
We plan big things for tomorrow in spite of zero knowledge of the future. That is confidence.
We see the world suffering, but still we get married and have kids. That is love.
On an old man's shirt was written a sentence. I'm not 80 years old. I'm sweet 16 with 64 years of experience. And that is attitude.
Yeah, nice. And I got to say, I pulled that from Veritas, actually, on one of his segments there, yeah. But I think these parables are well known. I don't know the authors, but they've sort of been handed down but I like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Give Mel Hostelrick some credit. That's Veritas.
Absolutely, yes, Veritas. Yeah, I got that from there, and I
VeritasRadio.com.
That.
VeritasRadio.com. Also, you can go to your podcast player and look for Veritas. I'll just bring that up too, so that you can find them. It's great. I've subscribed to his platform. I think it's really good.
You can go on YouTube and just check out their check out Veritas, which of course I think we've mentioned that before.
Yeah, we have. My computer's decided to make now the moment where it decides to update its library. Let's see if it'll. Here we go. Yeah, cool. I'm just going to scroll down and find it now. Yeah, so it's just Veritas, Veritas.
Yes,
with Mel Hostelrick. If you're looking for that to subscribe to, yeah, a plug to that podcast because he totally deserves it. It's really good.
Yeah, it'll take you places that maybe it takes you deep down the rabbit hole.
Very deep.
And like really, if you want to get into stuff that you go, what?
Yeah.
If you're open to that stuff, if it resonates with you, then it'll definitely pique your interest. Trust me.
100%. Yeah. Well, I think that's probably us for the 40th episode.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
No, I think nothing more to add there.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you on the next one, and we'll see you soon.